Good morning, and welcome to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm glad you've made the connection and are with us today. I'm Laurie Fitz, your host, and the goal of our show is to explore a wide range of topics that challenge us to see ourselves, our community, and the world around us in new ways, and perhaps make new connections. Our topic today is on the opportunity to think more deeply about our relationship with veterans and ways we can continue to support them. And we have a wonderful person to help us on this journey of discovery, and it's Derek Small, who is the new Director of Military Programs at the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation. Welcome, Derek. I'm so glad you're joining us today.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. You're new to being the director at the Educational Foundation, but you're not new to the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation Board that you served on, and you also served on the Wisconsin State Restaurant Association, I understand.
Yeah, that's correct. I started off after I retired from the military. I started off with working for Goodwill Industries, and from there I went to the Center for Veterans Issues, and in between all of those things, I got my start with the ACF, the American Culinary Federation, where I was president of the Milwaukee chapter, and then got on to the Wisconsin Restaurant Association Educational Foundation's Board of Trustees, and later got on to the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation, the Board of Trustees, and I just left there 3 years ago. So I was with them for 3 years and got the opportunity to be part of the military programming as the new director. So I'm very excited to take on this new challenge.
You've got a real heart for helping to support veterans as they look to come back from perhaps retiring from the military and what's their next step. And you've got opportunities that you want to support them in that.
Absolutely. Well, being a Navy cook and 20 years of being a Navy cook, back when I joined in 1988, it was very difficult to, and I'm sure you can attest to this too, the food service industry was looked as a stepping stone to another job.
It was a transition, right?
It was a transition.
Right.
It wasn't really right. It wasn't really anything glamourable, but at the end of the day, being a military cook has a lot of hardships, but it also has a lot of something to be proud of.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at military and veterans, the first thing that comes into people's heads and minds are guns and missiles and defending and all that stuff. But without food service, without food, without the services that the cooks provide, the strongest army could not be as strong, right?
Absolutely.
So we look at what makes the end mission successful is the individuals in the service areas, the individuals that really provide the nourishment and the food and the services to help push that agenda ahead so our mission could be successful. So my position now, I'm in a position now to help thousands, millions of transitioning veterans and veterans that are homeless and need assistance. I'm a true believer in giving back. And I understand that at some points in our lives, we have to go through what we call the ringer.
Mm-hmm.
And as a Navy veteran and as a veteran in the military, we all have to go through the ringer. I think that would ring true to a lot of veterans that are probably listening to the program. But what happens after the military?
Right.
Well, again, with the mental issues that we are having in this country now that are being addressed, thank God that they're being addressed.
Mm-hmm.
We need to do a better job on how we can support the individual coming out of the military, and especially in a food service capacity, because although we have looked at the food service industry to be a little bit more palatable to everyone now because of the food service network and so forth, we still have that stigma of, when's your next job? You're cooking, but what's your next job, right?
And so nor is there a recognition that there are a variety of opportunities within the industry.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. The opportunities for a military veteran in food service now is astronomical. It is, we have certifications now. We have schooling, post-education. We have our programs where the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation has advanced culinary training. We have SkillBridge programs. So there's a lot of programs out there that help transitional veterans and individuals that have served our country that would like to pursue a job within the industry better now than 5 or 6 years ago.
It's interesting because I think there's both a cultural perception of veterans and there's a cultural perception of food service, and you're kind of taking on both with this position. and I think that there can be some assumptions or not deep thinking. So when I think of the veterans, and we've talked about this, sometimes folks just think about them on Memorial Day and Veterans Day. Okay, give special honor. But not all the time of recognizing that this is a culture in our country that needs our support for those that are going through a tough time or needs recognition of the work that they have done that allows them to be able to be successful in integrating into the non-military and what does it offer. And then you've got the food service that has what's your real job? Something that and that may be a perception of folks from the military as well. So you almost need to work on two fronts in terms of helping to recreate a different vision for both the veteran and for the opportunities in food service.
Well, you hit on something about the perception of the veteran. Most people think, you joined the military, you got out, you're good. And that's far from the truth. I mean, most veterans that get out have, especially if they spend any length of time in the military, all they know is the military. So coming out into a civilian environment is kind of alien to them on many levels. Even to the point of how do we translate our jobs in the military to civilian life? What does that look like? Mm-hmm. Because the jobs in the military are very different in nature and in mission. And so a lot of people think that, you're in the military, you're great, you got out, you got this. And then there's the health issues, They're the, I always say, the silent injuries, mm-hmm. the ones you can't see. Because you have both arms and legs doesn't mean that you're not injured as a veteran. So I think how we approach a veteran, first of all, is finding out the need of the veteran, right? And in my journey to where I am now, we developed training programs. And when I was at Troop Cafe in Milwaukee, we developed training programs to help veterans in culinary arts either go to pathways, either go to a secondary school, meaning to get their associate's degree in culinary arts, or to go to work. Those were two different pathways, and we were very successful in doing that. And again, but with doing that, there's a lot of issues that come with that. It's not just teaching a culinary course. It's also dealing with mental illness. It's also dealing with economic issues that the veteran may have due to him or her not being in the civilian sector. So dealing with all of that is very.
And I have to believe the uncertainty of not knowing what your next opportunity would be in civilian because it's very different from the military, adds to the mental stress as well. Just not knowing, what's next can create a lot of mental stress. But you said something before to me when we were having a conversation that really struck home about how the job not only is good for the job and the pride, but it does help the mental health as well. Just, having something that you have the opportunity to work towards, then that pride of having that job creates a mental health.
Absolutely. And, I would say most veterans are mission driven, and we like to have a mission and we like to complete that mission. And, when we're tasked, we want to complete the job not just in a timely manner, but we want to do it to the best of our ability, right? We want to do it to that military standard. And being a part of, a program that is going to not just help the individual learn the skill set, but also give that individual that motivation to strive for more is invaluable. It makes the individual feel better about themselves. And you're absolutely right with the mental illness. It really helps that because it is giving that person that ability to look ahead and saying that, yes, there's more road for me to go. No, this is not the end of the road. This is more. So I can look to the sunset now. I can see further. And while I was training veterans, that was part of the feedback I got was, thank you for motivating me. Thank you for making me get up out of bed in the morning because I wanted to have something to do and I wanted to feel useful. And that's one of the biggest things about hiring veterans too, especially in our industry, is that, the loyalty that is there with each veteran that individuals hire is again, you can't put a price tag on that. The individual is going to come to work on time. They're going to do the best job that they can, and they're going to learn more because they want to advance.
And with that, we'll need to take a break. But I want to have our audience know, if you want to learn more about these programs, you can go to chooserestaurants.org. You may know someone, or you yourself may want to learn more about these programs that are available, or if you'd like to make a donation. Again, that's chooserestaurants.org. We'll be back and we'll learn a little bit more about Derek's journey and some of the interesting path that he's taken to where he is today. So stay with us and we'll learn more about the military programs that are offered through the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation. Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. So glad that you joined us today. Our topic today is taking a look at our relationship with veterans and ways we continue to support them. And we have a terrific guest that is sharing his story and his journey and the work that he's doing. Derek Small is the Director of Military Programs at the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us, Derek.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, we've been talking about looking at the challenges of coming back and becoming a civilian, our role with veterans, and what we can do to support them. And also, taking another look at food service. There are some great opportunities in food service. And Derek is working to kind of look at both of those issues. What are ways that we can position food service as more of a career and a positive thing, and be able to support veterans coming back and seeing opportunities for themselves. And I want to go back and have you share a little bit about how you got into the Navy. What's your story that led you to the work that you are today? But what got you going into the Navy?
Well, a lot of people don't know this, but I was born in London, England, in 1964. And my brother, he was in the Merchant Marines, and he worked for Shell Tankers. He used to come home in his nice uniform, and he used to pick me up. He's 10 years older than I am. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that was the best thing out. Everybody, he was my Superman. He was the hero. of everything that I did. So in the early age, I always wanted to be a sailor. I wanted to be a part of that community. And I got a chance to do just that in 1988. I joined the Navy. But when I joined, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And it's a funny story because I did not imagine that I would have been cooking in the Navy. At the time, I didn't know how to even boil water, let alone cook. So,
and your first reaction to food service, you yourself wasn't a positive one, right? It was like, what am I doing? What's this?
Right. Well, it wasn't a positive one, and reasons being was twofold. One, I didn't know how to cook. That was number one. Number two, and most importantly for me, I did not, the stigma of being a cook in the Navy especially was reserved for people of color at the time. And I really did not appreciate it. I did not like that stigma that went along with that I thought I could have done, or I could have done more. However, one of the biggest things that I was taught as a child by my parents was, no matter what is put in front of you, regardless of what it is, do the best that you can. So it was the pride I had in myself to put forth the effort. So for the first 4 years, obviously, I wasn't happy with my job because of the stigma of being a cook and so forth. But it wasn't until I got to a shore station in Newport, Rhode Island, where one of the chiefs pulled me to the side and said that he saw in me something that I didn't see in myself. And I didn't understand what he was talking about, but I'm glad I listened. And he said he's going to send me to Johnson & Wales. I was in Providence, Rhode Island. He sent me to Johnson & Wales to learn culinary arts, to improve on my skill set, and to come back to the base and just, do what I do. So I did that. And lo and behold, I found that there's more to food service than, cooking for, 1,500 people. There's the management side. There's the business side. I mean, there's a lot of different entities that we can fall into food service. And at that time, I also thought, it would be great to train, to be a trainer. And I never knew at that point, anyway, I never knew that I would have been a trainer. I would have gone on to train individuals in culinary arts. But that was my motive, and I had to learn the back of the house. I had to learn how to cook, to clean, all of that, and then I learned the front of the house. I learned the business part of it. So going through all of that, and then in between all of that is the Gulf War, of course, and doing. I once cooked in a microwave for 350 people for a week.
I could not even imagine.
which takes very, very, and back then, now we're talking in the early 90s. Yeah, we're talking in the early 90s. The microwaves are not how the microwaves are now. They're not the big, giant microwaves. But anyway. But that was one of the things that I really enjoyed about food service is that I can put my own personality into whatever I'm doing. So, we always say baking is a science. You have to follow that recipe because you can't deviate. Mm-hmm. But for a cook, it's an artist. You are an artist. We can design and make things better. And when you see someone sit down and have a nice bowl of soup on a frosty winter day, which I'm having right now, or, they sit down and they have a nice steak dinner and the smile that comes over their faces. Mm. One of the things I told my students, I said, you'll never, ever see a child cry while they eat ice cream. They will cry before and they will cry after, but not while they're eating it. And that's true because food nurtures our soul. Food motivates our mind. So I got into that, and I started thinking, I can use this as my springboard to help other individuals that are probably in thinking that this is a dead-end job in the military, that this is a dead-end job, but there's more out there that is to food service other than, standing behind a big copper pot and stirring around something and serving it to thousands of people. There's more invested in that if you want to do that. So I look at my whole entire military career as God sent in so many different aspects that set me on a path where now I can help other veterans hopefully get on a path to whatever they want to do within the industry. Something
that you said earlier about the chief that saw something in you that you didn't see in yourself, it strikes me that you're seeing in others something that they might not be seeing in themselves.
Well, yeah, a lot of individuals, especially in food service or the service industry within the military, it's a thankless job because as human beings, if you think about it, how many times have we thanked the waiter? How many times have we thanked the cook? How many times have we thanked the person at the drive-through window? We're so busy in our day. We go through, we order, and we're out. We're gone because food is a right. We have to eat to live. But in that same context, we should be thanking those individuals. We should be thanking those individuals for keeping us safe. We should be thanking those individuals so we can make it home at the end of the day because we ate a hamburger that was cooked perfectly and the sanitation behind it was perfect. Mm-hmm. We should thank that person that we're not in the emergency room.
Right.
So that's the importance of it. I mean, when you think about, and I know we talked about the military and then veterans and food service and how does that coordinate. When you think about it, and I think I mentioned it earlier, if you are in the Navy, Army, Air Force, Marines, we have different missions, but our objectives are pretty much the same, to have peace within the whole world, right? Mm-hmm. We are the defenders of that.
Absolutely.
All right? Without individuals servicing that mission, the mission goes nowhere. No one is going to be able to do anything if they're sick.
Right.
I don't care how mentally strong you are. If you have food poisoning, you're not going anywhere. You're not. And we don't appreciate, at least we have started to appreciate, but we don't fully appreciate what those services actually do for the overall mission of the military and the United States.
And with that, we're going to take a break, but we're going to come back and you're going to share more about what could be those next steps for those folks that hopefully are continuing to get more pride in the work that they're doing, and there's more recognition in the military today than maybe it was before, and that there's moving towards a recognition of thanking and supporting. And then what opportunities may be back here in civilian life and ways that you're supporting them to make that happen. And to learn more about the work that Derek is doing, you can go to chooserestaurants.org, learn about the military programs, as well as if you'd like to make a donation, that would be warmly welcome. We'll be right back just after a few commercials. Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. So glad that you've joined us today. Our topic is looking at our relationship to veterans and ways we can continue to support them. And to help us understand better ways to be thinking and doing and being and creating good support is our good friend Derek Small, who's the Director of Military Programs at the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation. Welcome, Derek.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. We've been sharing about looking at the military, looking at the work of folks in the military, and then also food service as an opportunity, both in the military as well as in civilian life. And the work that you're doing to help support, a program that helps transition folks from the military into civilian life. And one of the ways I think it would be interesting for our audience is to have you share about how each of the opportunities that you had in going from the military to where you're at today was sort of a combination of going on your journey, having the opportunity, sometimes hitting a brick wall and finding even more richness even after going through that brick wall. And one of the things that I think about is that you had almost thought that you're going to stay your whole career in the military, right?
Yes, that was the plan.
Mm-hmm.
My last tour was in San Diego, and I was on the USS John Paul Jones. I was in charge of 350 personnel on board. When I say in charge of 350 personnel on board, I was the lead person for the food service operation, so everything went through me. And I was E6, and I was up for E7 chief. And I made the board, and I'm thinking, oh, wow, I made the board, and I am going to stay in past my 20 years, and I'm going to, be a chief and, obviously be in at least for another 23 or 3 more years, so 23 years total, or 24, depending on what that went. And so when the results came back from the board, I unfortunately did not make the cut, which was very disappointing to me because at that time I had put in so much work into my craft, but also into the military as far as making myself promotable, in other words.
And you had a lot of accomplishments behind you during that time.
Absolutely.
And there must have been, some hard swallowing in terms of, why is this happening, right?
It was some come to Jesus moments with myself. And I really, and then I had to pivot because I didn't have the luxury of time. So I had to really pivot really quick. So my wiping my tears and wounds and licking my wounds, so to speak, I really had to get back on. Now I am transitioning out. What am I going to do? And I honestly did not know. And I put my resume out and cover letter out. And back then, the email is not as sophisticated as it is now. But I put that out, and I was just hoping and praying for a miracle. Fortunately, when I got out, I did not receive any callbacks from any of the places that I had put my resume in. So, and I'm a family man, so I had kids and wife, and so I had to provide, and I went to a temp agency, and I got a temp job, or was going to get a temp job in a hospital. And it was very deflating, not because I'm too good to work in the temp agency or the hospital, but because of where I was coming from and what I was commanding based upon the management skills and stuff that I had and what I would be doing.
And you were in a leadership role. And
absolutely.
And in this temp role, you would be in a cafeteria, essentially, right?
Yep, absolutely. And so I was, again, I was feeling a little sorry about that, but I'm a true believer in hard work, so it doesn't make a difference where you start; it makes a difference where you finish, right?
Right.
So I was ready to take on that challenge. Fortunately for me, I got a call from Goodwill Industries saying that they would love for me to be part of their team, and that was a I would say a great intervention, because not only did I go back to my roots of working within the military, now I'm working with recruits that are coming to eat within the cafeteria or the galley, and but I'm also supervising individuals to get that mission done. So I did that for about 2 years.
And what a wonderful opportunity. Two ways. One, you know how the military you know how military feel when they leave, and that panic that you had. What do I do now? I mean, so there's a relatability to the folks that you know how they're feeling when they're coming out of the military and looking for civilian life. And two, here you are doing training, the very thing that sets you up for helping to do programs today. I mean, I just think that crossroad really gave you a bigger blessing in being able to know, how can I really make a difference in the long term?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, working with individuals with disabilities and disadvantages, and I did have some veterans within that ilk of working with individuals and training them on food safety and also basic culinary skill sets, set me up to really look at the bigger picture. And I think you hit it on the nail there, where most veterans, we have that anxiety of like, oh my God, what do we do now? Mm-hmm. And if I had any suggestions for anyone that's listening that may be in the military that's doing, you need to start thinking about that. I would say 2 years out. Therefore, it gives you time to develop that skill set that's going to make you more employable as you get out. So I would say that. But when I left Goodwill and I went to work with the Center for Veteran Issues, it was working at a grassroots level, building a training program from grassroots for veterans, specifically for veterans. And I worked with a lot of Vietnam vets that had a lot of issues, but were willing to work through those issues. And like I said earlier in the earlier segment about meeting the individuals where they are and not just giving them the skill set, but giving them that wraparound service of, hey, if you have illnesses or mental illnesses, or you have some substance abuse, or you have some economical issues, we need to address those. We need to take care of those. And then we can put you in the classroom, you can learn, and then we can get you a job, because then only will you be successful. But, there's a lot that individuals take for granted. Again, they really don't think that we have free medical. So, but not all veterans have free medical. Not all veterans have free anything. And
even if they do, there might be waiting lists, and there may be all kinds of difficulties to get access to it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, tell us about specifically some of the cool programs that you're doing right now. I know that there's the ACTP and the Chicago Military Service Training that I'd love to have the audience learn about.
Sure. So the Advanced Culinary Training Program, otherwise known as ACTP, it provides members of the armed forces an opportunity to improve the performance of official duties, therefore enhancing mutual understandings of their mission. It develops competencies and skills and knowledges and abilities to build, sustain, and retain a mission-ready workforce. So we have a 5-day training program that incorporates lectures, demonstrations, and assessments, and hands-on cooking and production activities. And we've partnered with the CIA, which is the Culinary Institute of America, just so we're clear on that, to help us with achieving these goals. Now, we take individuals that from all branches of services that are 1 year in, maybe 2 or 3 years in, and we give them a brief window shot on what it looks like to go to a prestigious school as the CIA, Culinary Institute of America. I keep saying that. And giving them that brief glimpse of what it takes to go to a school like that, but also to give them a brand new skill set, or give them a skill set that they can take back to their bases and be proud of the work that they're doing. One of the other things that this program actually does, which is phenomenal, we talk about motivation, we talk about the mental stability of an individual. Can you imagine being in a job where you feel this is thankless? You feel that this is a thankless position, and being put in the position to go to San Antonio or Napa Valley or New York and being taught by a world-renowned chef and having your dish put on display, and then going back to your base and actually doing that. So
and doesn't it also help that this is while they're still in the military? So even as this is that 2-year thing that you're thinking about, getting people prepared, they can start thinking about their civilian life as they're in the military right now.
Absolutely. And that's one of the biggest things, because when, that's what happened to me when my chief told me, I'm going to send you to Johnson & Wales. That changed my whole direction. So by having these individuals that come out for the week of training and actually showcasing them, making sure that they are the front and foremost, you are important, and making them feel that way when they go back to their base, it's like, oh, this is what I learned. This is what I'm doing. And hopefully those individuals will, once they transition out, will either go back to the CIA to continue their education, or go into our industry. So that is our goal.
And then you also have the Chicago Military Food Service Training, and that's for management?
Sure. Yes. And also with the Chicago training, it's also a recognition. We have a dinner for all of the branches of services for their awards that they would have received during the year. Each branch of service has a different food service award. Air Force has the Hennessy Award. Air National Guard has the Disney Award, and Navy has the NAE Award. But these awards are, because of COVID, we've had some difficulties doing these things in the past couple of years. But I'm looking forward to having these awards present again. And that's another way of showing the military individuals that we, as the National Restaurant Association Education Foundation, cares about what they're actually doing to put them on center stage and make them feel important. Part of the award ceremony is the management part, where they learn the customer service. They learn cost and effect. What does that mean? So it's more based industry based. We have industry leaders come in and talk to our service members. They get to network with the industry leaders. Some of them may be transitioning now, so that's a good way of keeping in contact with individuals that they may want to work for in the next few months or years. So it's a time for us to showcase our military and award them appropriately.
And our next segment, I'm going to have you tell us about the apprenticeship and other programs that you're supporting. They're all so terrific, and I'd love to have the audience learn more about the scholarships, the certifications, all that good stuff, and the good work that you're doing. So stay with us. We'll be back just after a few short announcements, and we'll hear more from Derek Small on the good work of military programs that are offered through the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation. And if you want more information, just go to chooserestaurants.org and consider a donation as well. Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. And today we've been talking about our relationship with veterans and ways we can support them, and taking a new look at food service and the opportunities there. And to do that, we have a wonderful guest who is part of the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation, and he's the director of military programs. And we've been hearing his story and his vision and the work that he does, and that's Derek Small. Welcome, Derek. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you again. Appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. We've been talking about your journey in the Navy, your work in food service, your work in training, some of the great things that are offered. And there's a few more things that we wanted to make sure that we talked about in terms of offerings of the military program through the National Restaurant Educational Foundation. So tell us more about the other programs that you've got going.
Sure, absolutely. We have a SkillBridge program, which is DoD approved, where it's an opportunity for service members to gain valuable civilian work experience through specific industry training, apprenticeships, and internships during the last 180 days of their service. The program aims to provide a basic experience in the restaurant work environment that will equip service members to successfully enter into a restaurant management DOL registered apprenticeship program. Individuals can come in through their transitional office and enter through our SkillBridge program and we will find a employer that will accept that individual for the next 12 weeks. And it combines e-instruction plus work experience. So the good thing about that program is that it's no cost to the employer. The service member is still getting paid and benefits are still getting paid through their military service. And after the 180 days or the 12 weeks of training, they will go into a management position within that company.
How
so
wonderful.
I think that is a very, very good program that individuals should be taking advantage of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, there's so many wonderful things that you've been doing and that you continue to do and the direction that you're going in. And I know you had some special closing remarks that you wanted to make, and I wanted to make sure that I left time on our program for you to be able to do that.
Sure, thanks. Well, we talked a lot about our veterans and also the industry, the food service industry, but I just want to leave this with our listeners, that we really think about this. Not only do our veterans protect our rights and freedoms, but they also provide service and aid to those in need. In many instances, the U.S. is the first on the scene providing medical aid, food, and water at a level that no other country comes close to doing, home or abroad. So when you think about that, we have our men and women out there fighting for our freedoms. We have our men and women out there giving aid to the world. And, it's not just on Memorial Day that we celebrate the lives of our departed veterans, or Veterans Day that we celebrate the veteran for serving in our militaries. But it should be an everyday occurrence. It should be just like how we take food and air and water that we need to survive. We should be thankful for those individuals that are out there on the shores and the water, protecting our freedoms and helping the world.
And one way our audience, one way our audience can do to help to support that is to provide a generous donation to the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation, and you can do that by going to chooserestaurants.org. Give it a consideration. They're good people, and it's a good way to support our veterans. Thank you so much, Derek, for being with us today.